Hello everyone, welcome to Field Notes, an exploration of functional medicine. I'm Rob Downey, a family practice MD and Institute for Functional Medicine certified practitioner. I'm coming to you from Seaworthy Functional Medicine in Homer, Alaska. Seaworthy exists to help people overcome their health challenges and be fully vital.
Today we are fortunate enough to have Jordanna Quinn, who is a physician and physical medicine and rehab doc, athlete, helps athletes, regenerative medicine, functional medicine practitioner, deals with medical issues around aesthetics. And that's a brief summary. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
What should we add right at the beginning about who you are and what you do that I didn't encapsulate properly or that should be expanded on?
I think that encompasses it, coming from PM&R, going into sports medicine and finding regenerative medicine, which really spoke to me. It made sense to me that using your body's own healing to help heal itself, that spoke to me, I think, as an athlete. And I've always been more naturally medicine minded. I'm an osteopath, so I come from that background. And just, once I got into regenerative medicine, my path towards where I am is PM&R, sports medicine, finding regenerative medicine, fell completely in love with it. It just made sense to me. And then once you find the alternative medicine world, your mind is open to all of these other things. So I had a mentor that was in anti-aging medicine, which I didn't realize at the time. I basically sent a letter to someone who was doing regenerative medicine and told him to hire me. And a little while later he did, and he was a functional medicine doc and just taught me all of the other stuff that, focusing on diet and hormones and IV therapies. And then that's also how I got into aesthetics as well. And that was just the greatest thing that probably ever happened to me, because to me, I call it make sense medicine. It just makes sense that this is what we should be doing as physicians and, trying to find the root cause of disease and trying to help people stay healthy as opposed to just treat disease. I do think there's a time and a place to just treat disease, but I don't know. That's probably a long drawn out version. Yeah.
No, it's great. It's always great having the detail. And I think part of the beauty of these opportunities to interview thought leaders is that it's an expanded format to have people out there who are interested in what we do learn more about kind of our backgrounds. You and I both benefited from having mentors in functional medicine. Mine was a naturopathic doctor trained at Bastyr.
Okay.
And then as I was going along as an MD, when functional medicine became part of what I could offer to folks along with my mentor every Wednesday in Montana, I just felt it was so commonsensical, just eminently commonsensical.
Definitely.
And beautiful. The outcomes
Yes.
were, I just thought, oh my gosh, this is how medicine should be. And it seemed like that's what sort of David Jones and Jeff Bland and all those folks in on the ground floor 30 years ago were thinking and doing, and saying this is kind of how medicine would look from the ground up if it had a bigger toolkit. And
yes. Yes, it's amazing. I agree. It's fun to talk to someone who's just as excited about it.
That's definitely how I got to this point of wanting to get to talk to thought leaders, was just that in Alaska, I'm close to some of my tribe, but a lot of my tribe is scattered around the United States and abroad. And so I've been sharing that every interview I do, it's like, oh my gosh, I met another member of my tribe. This is so.
Yes.
So
yeah, it totally, even in Colorado, people think Colorado is an open state, but from a medical standpoint, it's actually pretty conservative, which has changed in the past, I would say, 5-ish years. I've been practicing in this realm for a decade now. And yeah, it makes sense, it's, when it speaks to you, it makes sense. I don't know how to explain it. And it took me a little while to come, I guess, to terms with it from it has always made sense to me. And I don't know if it's like I grew up being an athlete and we always, my mom cooked all of our meals and, she kind of always said, don't eat, don't just drink juice. It has a lot of sugar, eat the fruit, and we ate a lot of whole vegetables. And so I just assumed, honestly, it was because we were poor. So we couldn't afford juice, or we couldn't afford going out to eat or whatever, like, so now I just realized she was wise. But
That's what I
anyhow,
was going to
so
say. There was a real wisdom there, wasn't there?
totally. Yeah, so when I found it again, it just, yeah, it made sense to me, and it's I don't know, it's fun. It makes going to work fun. I used to, when I first got out of residency, I was just in pain management, just doing spine injections and steroid injections and a lot of spine and interventional pain. And I mean, I literally would come home from work and just, complain to my husband because I felt like I was just whining, or I honestly felt like patients were just kind of whining, like, the world, they were in pain because it was the world's fault, and I would talk to them about diet and exercise and things that I was passionate about. I'm like, come on, just walk a block a day. And until I was blue in the face, and I just felt like it was going, people didn't care. They wanted the magic pill. And that was the clinic I worked at. But it also made me very sad about the way, at least PM&R, there was a lot of pain management. And so when I found regenerative medicine, which I did learn about in residency, it wasn't like a shock, but when I was actually able to find a mentor and do it, it just, again, it made sense. And like, I seriously go to work now and I love every day of work. I love what I do. It's fun. It's no longer like, oh, I have to go and I have to like talk to people until I'm blue in the face who don't care what I'm saying. It's like my patients care and they want to make changes in their life. And, we walk the path together, which I love, the doctor-patient relationship. Like I am 100% in, but they have to be 100% in too. Like I can't beg my patients to take care of themselves, but I am all in. If you go to the hospital, I'll come do a manipulation on you in the hospital. I don't, like I want to be there for you. It's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, I talk a lot with people about having skin in the game, that's one of the hallmarks of being a functional medicine patient. And I think a lot of people now know that or intuit that as they connect with us, and that's what they want too. So there's kind of a resonance right out of the gate.
Yeah. I think it's different, I think it's different, form of medicine. And I know you take insurance, and I would love to kind of hear a little bit about how you do that. But not taking insurance, I have the luxury of spending more time with my patients. As a specialist, I've kind of always had that luxury as well. So because I'm not in an insurance model too, I can talk about whatever I want. I don't have to like check these tabs, but which is a great luxury. But where was I going to go with this? So, it does give a different relationship, but I guess I've just always been like this as a person, even when I was in the insurance model, talking to patients about quitting smoking or diet and exercise and all these things that you don't get paid for necessarily, but, or maybe people do now, they didn't at the time. But, I just find it important. And so I think having those conversations with patients up front totally changes the patient-doctor relationship. Just basically telling the patient you're not going to put up with excuses or this is a 6 or 12-month process before you're even going to feel better, but this is a long-term relationship. I think people appreciate that. I've had people cry in my office because I'm pretty blunt with my patients. I had someone smoking and she was doing whatever and like trying to exercise. And I basically told her like, there's no point because you're still smoking. Or I was very not kind about it. I think smoking is the least smart thing that anybody can do in the world. And she came back to me. I literally thought I just made her angry. And she came back to me 2 months later crying like, I quit smoking the day after I saw you. And thank you so much. My husband and my relationship is better. We both exercise, like all of these things that I wasn't expecting. It was beautiful, and it's just because I feel like I can be honest with my patients. I'm not hiding anything,
Yeah, I think it's really important what you're saying. And so I do want to kind of add to and underscore it because I'm seeing the same trend in my practice. And it's also nice to get a chance to talk a little bit about practice models. So for me, I had a humbling moment 3.5 years ago when I was lucky enough to have the hospital support me opening a strictly functional medicine practice. And the functional medicine certified health coaches who were helping me as staff said, we've talked to people that you cared for in Homer 6 and 7 years ago. And despite all of your best intentions, Rob, these folks still ended up in a kind of pills and testing focused mindset.
Yep.
And I learned from them that what was happening to those people 6 and 7 years ago was that I still had kind of my MD hat on, but I didn't know it. So I would start the first visit with here's the food plan, here's the mindfulness plan, here's the supplements, here's the testing. And I think because I was an American doctor talking to American patients, what they heard was, here's the testing, here's the pills.
Yes, that's so interesting.
And so the part that we're able to do through insurance is just that we have this honesty and transparency, as I see it, that we do long visits that are time-based billing. So if people are self-pay, it's a pretty significant investment. They've got skin in the game. If they've got insurance, it's covered as a time-based billing code for 25 or 40 minutes. And then we are just changing our supplements to 10% off manufacturer's suggested retail as opposed to 35% off. And we've got an $80 lab interpretation fee. And those are the only, my business coach, Dan Kalish, those are the only changes I had to make to have a viable business model, is just have people know that they had some skin in the game to support the practice through supplements. Once they had gotten better, then they help other people
Yeah.
get better.
Amazing.
No,
So simple, you know.
it's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
So now we're transitioning now into proof of concept, meaning it all pencils out on the Excel spreadsheet and what have you, but we need to turn the corner and do the education and proof of concept around the state. But that's where I think it helps to be 14 years into functional medicine, and I've got a brick and mortar practice here for 7 years. So I've got a bunch of the shakedown crews done in the other areas.
Right.
So I'm not trying to expand and I'm not trying to do 7 moonshots at once. I've got 6 things figured out, and I'm trying to do 1 moonshot in terms of expansion of practice and clarification of model.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what branch of functional medicine, what realm do you kind of like to focus on?
I think it kind of defined, my mentor was really good at fatigue, really good at gut issues. Hillary Daly, a naturopathic doctor from Hamilton, Montana, really good at botanicals, really good at inflammation, really good at autoimmune. And so those folks tended to gravitate to us. And I just have, I think the number 1 diagnosis people see me for is fatigue. And then sort of second, third, and fourth would be insomnia, arthralgia, myalgia, low mood, unhappy gut, hormonal imbalance, menopause, perimenopause, andropause, adrenals tied to sex hormones. I've really grown fond of testing them all at once with 1 snapshot. And so I've certainly found now that that's a plenty big audience in those domains. And I want to be really honest, where I've kind of got my expertise, I focused a little more on making sure that younger people know that functional medicine is really nice for them to do. They get a higher yield on investment if they're more proactive. So
Totally.
I love all my patients, of course, and I've had a blast with every step of the journey, but it's really been great when I get a chance to help a 25 or 35 or 45-year-old, and they get better so quickly and they're so happy and relieved. And I just know all of the joy and vitality they're going to get and all the suffering they're going to save themselves. So,
and it's simple steps, like dietary changes or supplement for a while or something like that.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. 2 things that really stood out to me about how Institute for Functional Medicine used to market itself was their old marketing phrase was re-enchant yourself with clinical medicine. That's when I took the class in 2006. And even then, I think I had a little disenchantment just because I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm sure people can be better. I'm sure there's more they can do. And so functional medicine was, when I went to applying functional medicine in clinical practice, my mentor went with me. And just every night, I was like the head exploding emoji in a good way, right?
Yes,
just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool.
Totally.
And then the thing that's never changed was that I knew I had to do functional medicine because it was 2005. A woman with psoriasis arthritis came to this integrative clinic where I had been hired, but I didn't have an integrative toolbox yet. And there were hand deformities, and the immunomodulatory drugs were then causing recurrent bacterial infections. It was just a really, really poignant situation. And I said, I don't have the toolbox that you need, but the naturopathic doctor at my clinic has a very good reputation with autoimmune. And 6 months later, this same woman was walking down the hallway and her posture was upright and her skin color was vital and her eyes were bright and she looked at ease. And she just had that glow.
Yep.
Like somebody has who they've fallen in love. And you look at them and you're like, something's different about you.
Yes.
And she just looked happy and at ease. And she said, yeah, I've had a 50% reduction in my symptoms. And I said, what did you do with Dr. Daly? And she said, I'm on an anti-inflammatory food plan. I take probiotics and I use boswellia, bromelain, and quercetin. And I just had this moment of, wow, you failed Enbrel and you failed 2 other immunomodulatory big gun drugs. And now you're 50% better on just a little handful of items, including lifestyle. She went onto a whole food plan that was anti-inflammatory. So I just never looked back after that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes so much sense, but people have to put in the time, right? Because it's definitely not a quick fix. I mean, it's not like ibuprofen, you have a headache and you take it and you feel better. It's, I mean, months of putting in the time, which I think isn't conducive to our lifestyle or our desires as, or it's not how Americans are, we're very fast paced and we want immediate results and we want to move on to the next thing and our attention span is 7 seconds now and, that sort of thing. And so it's also as a physician taking a time to explain that to patients, how it took your body years to get here. It's not going to be, I mean, if you want to fix the problem or at least reverse time as much as possible, it's going to take time. And I mean, from a regenerative medicine standpoint, that's how I, describe my procedures.
Let's delve into that a little more, because I think our listeners, and I should thank our listeners at this moment, if I didn't remember to at the beginning, just thank the people who are joining us to learn and grow in whatever way they can from our time together. I love what you're saying, and I need to be really honest and transparent that I think the lights came on for me only big time last year. I took that business class from Dan Kalish in functional medicine, and he said, you practitioners out there, you're a living example of what you want people to have.
Yep.
You need to be doing anything and everything to be absolutely vital. And I was about 85% of the way there, but my little housekeeping items that I'd always, my little pet things that I'd always kept. Hey, we've got another guest.
Yes. Sorry.
So Dan Kalish said, you need to be a living example of what you want people to experience.
Yeah.
And I had probably 50% of stuff left to do that I had just sort of kept in my, not my plan. I just had, some bad habits that I had never gotten serious about. And so it was neat then to feel like, okay, I'm going to try to be a living embodiment of this and ride my bike to work and clean up the gluten and dairy and clean up the refined sugar. And
yeah, I mean, no one's perfect. I think that's the thing we have to, remember is, so I've always been an athlete. I've been an athlete my whole life. I was a college athlete, high school athlete. And obviously as you become an adult and have kids and all those things, things can fall out of priority and importance. And I think that's okay, because if we beat ourselves up about it, then, you get in this negative catch-22 of maybe never getting back into a healthy lifestyle. So it's never too late. It's just knowing that, there's a time and a place. So, and I come from, if I don't exercise or 5 times a week, I feel like I'm lazy, So, exercise is my mental health. It's just part of who I am. So my lazy is maybe different than a lot of other people. We eat at home, 13 out of 14 days. We spend a lot of money on food and health, but I believe I'm putting the investment in on this side. So, but I think it's important for people not to beat themselves up, about not being perfect. I like a glass of wine sometimes. I think cigarettes are always the most terrible thing in the world, but nobody's perfect. I go on vacation and so I had a patient actually, I had a patient who is still my patient, and he came to see me maybe a couple years ago, and he is in his mid to late 40s and very overweight, and his wife is actually a physician, also very overweight. And he was just saying, and he has young kids. I mean, I don't remember exactly, but 5, 6, 7, like ages. And he was just like, I can't keep up with my kids and I want to be around for my kids. And I mean, he was truly like in tears. And he's young, you know, he has plenty of life left. And he just figured that he had figured most of his life, adult life, that he was done, you know, like I'm out of shape and all of these things. And so I was just kind of talking to him, like I said, I'm blunt, and I just talked to my patients, and I just looked at him and I said, what did I say? I said something to the effect of, I've been an athlete my whole life, I've eaten healthy my whole life, and every single day it's a struggle for me to maintain that. And I didn't even know I said that. Like I was just talking, blah, 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 and you know, and I was like, but anyways, 6 months later, he lost a bunch of weight and he came back to me and was like so grateful that I helped him change his life. And he told me that. He said, you know, what really stuck in my mind is what you said. You've been doing it your whole life and every day it's a struggle. And to me, it just is. I mean, and I don't mean a struggle like, oh my God, I have to cook dinner, but sometimes it is, right? I come home from work and I'm tired and I'm the breadwinner of my family. And, you know, and then, I mean, to be honest, to be fair, my husband is the cook, but it's just like, sometimes we just don't feel like doing it. It takes effort, right? So does going on a bike ride. It takes effort. But realizing that for him, that I personally pushed through that, like, cause he just assumed it was easy. He just assumed that people who were healthy was easy for them to be healthy. And I was like, but I do it because it's my priority. And that was just cool to hear. Like feedback like that is, I didn't even realize I said that, like I said, you know? So when I heard that, I was like, oh, good. Like, I'm glad that, because it's true, like every day it's an effort, but I choose to make that a priority in my life. And so I think that's important for people to realize.
I can't imagine any other way anymore, because it seems to me then we're inviting them in and we're being vulnerable and confident at the same time. We're
100%.
saying this isn't easy, but it matters and it's real. And I find then when people kind of avoid, I guess what I think of as the two traps. One trap is never start the journey. That fatalism that you and I sense that vibe when they come into the room, they're fatalistic that they can never get better.
Yep.
That's one trap. And then the other trap is that they need to become a monk or an Olympian.
Yep.
And so often I find that the conversations are around kind of this coaching idea of who are you, what do you believe? And so you don't need to throw your pantry out. Oh, breakfast is your challenge. Well, this week then, what about just making chia pudding? Right. And then I always find the conversation when they come back is like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much better I feel just eating a healthy breakfast.
Totally.
I'm getting that little snowball rolling at the top of my functional medicine improvement hill. And so it doesn't seem to take too long for the lights to come on and the fatalism to fade when it's real and it's for them and it's incremental, and they've got skin in the game, but they don't have to turn their lives upside down.
Right. Because it's still, I mean, I can think of a patient that I have right now, kind of in that was referred to me by her friend, and she saw how amazing her friend did after she came to me, and we did a lot of hormones and some dietary stuff, but honestly, mostly hormones. And so she came and she was like, oh, and she was super hypothyroid when she came to me. So that was kind of an easy win for me, but her friend did so well. So she came to me and she was like, I want thyroid medicine. You know, my friend did really well. It was that same kind of mentality of, I need this pill to make me better. And so I remember our first meeting, I was like, okay, well, we'll check your thyroid. You know, and we had the whole talk of like, you know, you need to bring some skin in the game. Anyhow, fast forward, her thyroid's fine. I'm not going to give her thyroid medicine. She was pretty mad about that for a while. But we are treating her hormones. But she's like a newer patient, but she still just has like, these hormones aren't working, or, you know, it's too high, too low. Like, I don't feel great. And so you're reminding me that I need to sit back down with her and say like, okay, like your hormones from a clinical standpoint, like we've gone up, we've gone down, we've been playing this game for about 6 months. Like let's talk about your diet again. Like she had no interest in talking about her diet, or she, you know, one of those where, oh, my diet's fine and we do whatever, but you know, she is overweight, and you know, her whole family is overweight. She has teenage kids. And so I think it's just, she and I need to like have a talk again and just, you know, really now address that now that she feels a little bit better from hormones and maybe sees that like I have skin in the game for her as well, but this is a serious, like a pill isn't going to change your life. You are going to change your life, and I could prescribe some pills that might help, you know, get you to the next level. But I'm glad you reminded me of that. We need to have that discussion with her again.
Well, it seems like the thread that you're invoking is the same thread that mastery level providers are invoking over and over and over again. If you look at Mark Hyman, Aviva Rama, Isabella Wentz, there's hundreds of people we could invoke, thankfully, that are, well, up there. They really have their act together in functional medicine. As I've kind of reflected on how I'd like to be like them, I find that there's this honesty at the beginning of the plan, particularly around food. And I have had some people now, because I'm so candid like you at the beginning, I just say the lifestyle factors, those are the key areas we need to find the imbalances. They're your momentum forward. Your lifestyle is your momentum. And when you have some momentum, then the testing and the supplements are going to be game changers. But without the lifestyle change, your plan has no gas in the tank. And so then I just say that's where it doesn't need to be eating like an Olympian, but it needs to be whatever you believe in, working with the coach or reflecting for yourself or looking at the food plan. And I've had people not come back now after that conversation, which actually tells me it's honest. It's really honest, because some people are like, hey, this isn't for me. And I feel like, well, respectfully, it's good that we identified that. One of my funnest patients came back 3.5 years later and had lost like 100 pounds and dropped half his medications and half his medical diagnoses. And the whole first conversation was on a delayed fuse burning in his psyche for like 2.5 years.
But it's important, and even if you never came back, like you started that in their mind, right? It's like anything else. You have to see things 100 times, or, it's like 20 times before you buy something, and you have to hear something 20 times before you believe it, or before, it's just, and that's beautiful. That's the beautiful thing about what you do, is like, you don't know when that conversation, even if you never saw him again, like he's out at the grocery store, or his knees start hurting and he can't ride bikes with his kids, or whatever it is, that like that conversation lights a spark, and that moment is like, oh my gosh, like I didn't care 2 years ago, but now suddenly like all of these badnesses or whatever coming together, and that doctor made sense. So, even if you never came back, like you can only hope, if you're being honest with your patients, even if they never come back, and even if it made a difference somewhere in their cerebral cortex, like there's somewhere in there where that was ingrained, even if it's in their subconscious. So even if they meet another doctor or a friend or something else, and they say the same thing, if that's the light that lights them up, you put a building block or a step in there for them to get to the next stage. And this is it's so cheesy, but it's so true. And I really wish the world would believe this, but when you feel good as a person, like I'm jazzed up right now because I went on a bike ride, I'm not always this jazzed up. I have good days and bad days, but you eat healthy and you exercise and you feel good and you spread that out into the world, and it's contagious and it's infectious and it's true, so you walk around with a smile and people smile at you. And that's like the very simple, even if you're in a bad mood and you just smile, you feel better internally, but it affects other people. And so if we focused on health in this country, the world would be a happier place. And again, not that it's perfectly happy in la la land all the time, but it's still just like you feel better. It's true.
It's using vitality as a clinical tool, isn't it? Our cup spills over, pathways heal, things reboot.
Yes.
That's what's different about it.
Right. And patients, and I've had this, look at me, oh, you don't understand, you're skinny or whatever. And I'm like, no, I do understand. I just work at it. Again, I've been an athlete my whole life, but I put in the time to exercise every day. I wake up an hour early in the summertime or 2 hours early to go for a bike ride or the gym or whatever. because I prioritize it. I'm no different.
Yeah.
If I don't do it, I gain weight, but
yeah, again, it's what Dan Kalish said, that, he rides his bike to work and he works out and he tries different food plans and he's always learning and growing. And he started out meditating in Thailand over 20 years ago. So now he meditates 2 hours every morning. And
wow.
I do yoga with my wife every day. And there's definitely days I don't, I feel like not doing it, but
yes.
And I don't, so probably I'm on track to get in like 300 to 330 days of yoga this year.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. And it took me a long time to get there. And the days that I don't do it, I don't beat up on myself, but it's a devotion. and a commitment, and I love it, and it's changed my relationship with my back and my shoulder and it's meditation and strength at the same time. And so I'm able to, when I ask people to download a mindfulness app, I'm able to look at them in what I think is a clear-eyed, peaceful fashion and say, I think you're going to dig this. I think there's going to be a peace and an ease just when you breathe slowly 10 times in a row, listening to this person's voice. You're going to, some of that bound up, tight, constricted, fatalistic feeling,
Yes.
it's going to start letting go.
Yeah, I've actually started meditating pretty consistently for me since September. And like it actually was, and so I was doing it a little bit before then. I opened my own business just over a year ago. So I was kind of trying to do it then, but all I could think about was all the things I needed to do to like start a business and, wasn't really there. But anyways, so with this whole coronavirus that's happening right now, people are very stressed out and very anxious and all of the things. And so I support my family. I just started my practice. And it could have been a mental downward spiral for me very quickly. And I have been weirdly optimistic, and I can only attribute it to meditation. And I don't do it every day. I don't beat myself up if I don't do it, but I've been trying to do it very consistently, whatever that is. I mean, I have good weeks where I do it every day and bad weeks where I skip a week or so. But I really think meditation has been helping, just like me not be so pessimistic about life. Because I'm not generally a pessimist, but I'm not an optimist. I'm definitely, I call it realist, where it's just like, go good or go bad. And so really for the first time in my life, the only thing I can attribute my optimism or not pessimism is honestly meditation. It's just kept me like grounded and balanced. I haven't changed anything else in my life. And this again would be a real issue where I could just have a negative spiral about, why did I start a business by myself and I support my family? That was a stupid idea, but it's not there. And so it's cool. And so I always tell my patients, because now I'm on, this meditation, I want to say kick, but I think I'm just going to keep doing it forever. And I'm not a 2-hour a day. I'm like a 15 to 20 minutes once or twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
But it's enough just to like take a minute to breathe and like, really that's it. Just calm the breath down. And I tell my patients, because this is how my experience with it is, also not an overnight fix. It's like exercise. So you could do it for 2 weeks and you're not going to notice any improvement. And then you start, not exercising, you're eating poorly again and you don't get the results. But really, when you exercise, it takes 3 to 6 months before you even notice a difference in your body. And that's how I think meditation, at least for me, has been. It took me 9 months or whatever, however long it's been, but it's like I honestly like haven't noticed a day in, day out difference until like this like tragedy is happening in the world, and I'm like, I'm able to probably manage it better than I would have otherwise. So I don't know. I think it's all relevant. It's all encompassing. I think our stress levels we don't address enough in medicine at all, and I think that's a huge cause of disease and dysfunction and mental health issues. And it's, we don't, again, like we talked about this earlier, we go through life so quickly. I am 100% one of those people. I think I told you when we started talking, I still am, 26 hours into a 24-hour day. But now I've had a meditation. So it's like good things, but still, it's too much. We don't value rest in our country and just taking a step back. And so, so stress is a killer.
Well, a couple of the things I wanted to endorse that you shared, because there's so much good in what you just said. One was that I think it's so wonderful that what we put out sort of comes back, and it can sound like playing Pollyanna, but I've just seen it so much in the last year or two, especially of shifting into really intensely positive focus. And also, since we started the interview today, you've reiterated a number of times, there's 3 to 6 months of work to get momentum and get traction. And that helps people then not be intimidated and kind of reframe their expectations. And I heard a couple of years ago that the functional medicine research clinic that IFM has in Washington, I believe it's in Gig Harbor, just their standard mantra with patients is it's 3 months right out of the gate before even taking any measurements at all, if not 6. And so I think that honesty again is really helpful to people, and it's a chance to say, hey, am I gonna as a patient, am I going to try this for a while and get past that first hurdle of just sort of instant gratification or what have you? Am I going to, and a lot of people can resonate with it because when they played football in high school, or they learned to play an instrument, or they tried to master interpersonal skills or speaking in public or whatever, they had to
put in the time.
put some hours in. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It's but I think
Well,
setting the expectation is important, right? Sorry to interrupt,
yeah.
because if you
No,
don't,
this is great.
if you don't, and I try to keep the expectation bar low and so I can exceed it. So I usually tell them 6 to 12 months, but yeah, I really believe that the American model of, and I don't want to get into politics, but the American model of healthcare breeds, what's the word I'm looking, like blame, right? So it's we feel like we deserve to be healthy, and we feel like we have a right to be healthy, and I think we have a right to be healthy, and everyone deserves it. But I think there's a disconnect of we have to work for it, right? Like you can be anything you want in America, but we're so focused on money, I think. And so to be successful is financial success, but to be successful is also like health success, in my opinion. There's multiple different facets of success. And so I don't believe that, I mean, in starting my business, I told myself, because nobody told me I could stay healthy and start a business and all the other stressors I have. And I was like, but it's my priority, so my business will grow slower because I prioritize a bike ride in the middle of the day or whatever. And I prioritize my family. So I come home at night and I'm a mother. I don't do patient care, and so, but I think I'm still under the belief that I can do it all and achieve financial success. We'll see. But I think that going back to just the health, it's just, I think we have a disconnect in America between what we do. I mean, obviously just from the grocery store and all of that, but food being our health, but also just we feel like it should be a passive part of our lives. Like it's just, I don't know how to describe it any better than that, but we really want health to be like this God-given right. And
well, I think Jeff Bland would say it's the disease delusion. It's the idea that we're either perfectly healthy or we have some disease. And this whole spectrum of health, from frank disease to optimal vitality, isn't sort of, I was really blown away thinking about Jeff Bland saying that penicillin's kind of where the idea came from. From the advent of penicillin onward, there was this whole love affair with one item, one problem, one fix, because of this enthusiasm of penicillin, and the science sort of got off track a little bit. In that, to me, the beauty of the American model is that it's great for broken bones and brain tumors and killing pneumonia and stabilizing congestive heart failure. But if the complex chronic backstory and the genesis of lifestyle in dis-ease isn't part of what we do, we're missing 80% of why people come see us. And I'm sure you and I both experience it. People come in, they intuit this, they've read it. We're practicing now where they know probiotics matter, they know gut health matters, they intuit that their stress is getting them down. And I'm so happy now compared to even 5 or 8 years ago. Most of them, the lights are on when they come in. They want to orchestrate it, prioritize, sort the wheat from the chaff. A lot of them are ready to rock.
Totally. It's amazing. It is, isn't it?
Yeah, such a blast. I can never get enough. I feel like just the amount of my career I have left as a 52-year-old doctor, it's like I can't get enough of this. I can't imagine stopping practicing it, because I guess in a way, Kalish has kind of become not my business guru, but a life example, because he said, hey, everybody out there, you can't burn out. There aren't a whole bunch of you out there. And he said, you can't build a business model where you're working 80 hours a week and practice what you preach, because you'll get depleted.
Right. Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And so he's like, you're going to only have a certain number of hours a week to see patients, and then you're going to have a viable business model, and the rest for practice building, and the rest for your exercise, your sleep, your meditation, your family, your food. Wow. Okay. I'll got to figure it out.
Totally.
Hey, I want to make sure that people know how to connect with you. As I shared at the beginning of the interview, this is like, wow, I get to meet my tribe. Probably the danger to my interviewees is they're like, oh gosh, this guy could talk to me for 3 days. I got to get on with my day and see my patients. If people want to learn more about you, then they can go to core, I got to get this right, coremedicine.com,
Core with a K.
and that'll be on the show notes.
Okay, great.
And then you've got some really specific things about skincare and a guide, and it's under biohackmybody.com, absolute skincare. Should we make sure and get a chance for people to know a little bit more about that so that?
Sure. That's just a fun, yeah, so I do aesthetics, like I said, got into it through the regenerative medicine aspect. I was already doing regenerative medicine for orthopedics and just had my patients like, can you do platelets on my face? I've heard about these vampire facials. And so I looked into it and started doing it that way. And then my patients, honestly, coming from rehab, we do Botox for headaches a ton and for neurologic conditions. I mean, we're trained in residency to do a ton of Botox for cervical dystonia. So as I've gotten older and my patients kind of follow my age, you know, they're just like, oh, well, you could do Botox, you know, can you do it on me? So I started doing that. So I don't do a ton of aesthetics, but that's just kind of how you kind of go from an orthopedic sports medicine background into aesthetics. And once you start doing aesthetics, patients ask you all about skincare. And I'm not a dermatologist. I'm probably the farthest thing from it. So started doing some research and I find just natural ingredients important. I met a pharmacist and he does all natural skincare. And I love everything about him. I mean, his wife had cancer, found all natural stuff, kind of found functional medicine essentially on his own as well. And so developed a skincare line that is just all natural, glutathione, things that are good for the skin, vitamin A and C, and just so you feel good putting it on. You know, it's outside in and inside out. I mean, you don't want all of these toxins in your body. And so actually I just was using his skincare line for years and decided I wanted to offer it to my patients. So we private labeled skincare for patients. So, you know, you can, again, it's everything you put in and on your body is important.
Yeah, that's really cool. And it kind of goes back to something you said at the beginning of the interview, which I think a lot of us who started our careers in the conventional model, we can end up kind of compartmentalizing or treating the body as a machine. There's sort of an algorithmic aspect of conventional medical training. The nerves are like wires, the organs are like parts of a machine. And in functional medicine, and we realize all these parts are interconnected and talking to each other all the time. And the things we put on our bodies can have profound implications for our toxicity pathways, and things that we put on that are beneficial for us can not only help our skin, our biggest organ, be well, but have all these downstream benefits and be safe. Yeah.
So I have I guess that link leads to a discount code for the products, but again, it's it feels good. It feels good on your skin. You know, you want to look good and feel good. So that's where that comes from.
What should people know about if they're close to you geographically? Is your practice open? Do you do telemedicine, mainly brick and mortar practice?
I do. So it's a cash practice, so I don't take insurance, but I do provide super bills for people. I'm considered an out-of-network provider. Happy to do telemedicine. I prefer to see my patients in person, but we do telemedicine as well. And my practice has been open. It's open this whole time. I would love, I mean, so I do phone
Congratulations,
visits.
by the way.
Yeah, thank you.
I love that. I think I might get the quote a little bit wrong, but there's something from Thoreau about when we walk confidently in the direction of our dreams, we meet with success unexpected in the common hour.
That's a good one. Yeah, you know, I have 3 kids and we've been watching Star Wars. And we watched, you know, we started with, like 4, 5, 6, which is, you know, the first way back when. And Luke was, this was just so pertinent to my life, almost the opposite what you said with like walking confidently, which I'm focusing on that mindset for me. But so Luke met with Yoda and he was in his training and he was going into the forest and he turned to Yoda and Luke goes, "What's in there?" And Yoda said, "Only what you bring with you." And I had this moment of like, that's so true, just mindset wise, right? Like nobody knows if you're confident or not confident, or it's just how you only bring into life, like moving forward into your business, what you bring with you. And I was like, that's so profound. I love Star Wars.
Yeah, this is great because I got to interview Misty Williams last week from Healing Rosie, and we got to talk about her reference to her favorite functional medicine practitioners was that they were so Jedi. The
Oh,
good
interesting.
ones were so Jedi. And then my daughter and I, one of our big heroes is Ahsoka, who's
Okay.
the protege to Anakin before he becomes Darth Vader. And so on the Clone Wars CGI animated series, Ahsoka kind of starts her trajectory, and now she's continued on to Disney, and I've never caught up with her as an adult, but she's this sort of classic feminine warrior who's got to use like Aikido and circular moves to sort of compensate with tactics for some of her like lack of sheer physical muscle. And she's very clever, and she's fierce and principled, and has a great sense of humor. She's just a total blast.
That's awesome.
Well, I should let you get on with your day, huh, Dr. Quinn?
Yeah, thank you. I guess so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for
Anything
having
I
me.
forgot to address that you'd love for people to know? That I think it said here, if there's one thing that you'd love for people to know that's most important, benefits of proper diet and mindset. I guess we did get kind of into that.
Yeah,
Though, huh?
I think we talked about it. I mean, lifestyle, it's not easy. It's not easy for anyone. Or by not easy, everything becomes easier when it becomes a habit, but you have to work at it. So it's just truly in life what you prioritize. So, prioritizing yourself via health and healthy living is important, and it will change your life, and it will affect your kids, and it will affect your grandkids, and it will affect, you lead by example is the most important thing in life, really, which I have found with kids. But the only other thing, which doesn't necessarily, would love you to email me your business coach's information.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'd be delighted to do that. Yeah, I will absolutely do that. And I think there's just a ton of wisdom and insight and joy and encouragement in what you shared. So thank you again so much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much for having me. You too.
Take care.
Bye.
Seaworthy exists for people to overcome their health challenges and be fully vital. Please consider subscribing, giving us a 5-star review if we've earned it, and going to our website podcast tab for any questions or comments you'd like to share with us. Thanks.